Good morning, and welcome to the dedication ceremony for the nation's first permanent memorial to survivors of sexual violence. I'd like to start today by acknowledging that the land that we stand on is stolen land that belonged to the Dakota people. Today, this land is called Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the violence of racism and colonization remain pervasive, as the world has seen. We call for justice for the missing and murdered Indigenous women. We call for justice for George Floyd, who should still be here, as well as Philando Castile, Jamar Clark, Breonna Taylor, Elijah McClain, Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, and so many others who've been brutalized and murdered by those who made a commitment to serve and protect. There is so much suffering in our city, our nation, the world. So much of it is traumatic. The horror that comes from being both powerless and betrayed by the people, institutions, and systems that are supposed to love us, protect us, and at the very least, respect our dignity and basic human rights. For far too long, the suffering of sexual violence victims and survivors has been forced into the shadows, swept under the rug. This memorial brings our suffering into the light, where we as a community courageously choose to see it. And we choose to see it so that we can create a better future. After my ex-boyfriend broke into my apartment, hid for hours in a closet, then woke me at knife point and raped me, several people said to me they hoped I got the help I needed. To me, these people believed that I would be healed with a really good therapist and a lot of self-care. My healing was, in their minds, a private matter, something that I was responsible for, something they could walk away from. I was left to wonder, can a rape survivor heal in rape culture? Can a rape survivor heal in rape culture? Dr. Judith Herman first named the lack of monuments for victims of sexual violence in her book, Trauma and Recovery. She wrote, quote, "It is very tempting to take the side of the perpetrator. All the perpetrator asks is that the bystander do nothing. The victim, on the contrary, asks the bystander to share the burden of pain. The victim demands action, engagement, and remembering." End quote. This memorial represents our willingness to share the burden of pain, to act, engage, and remember the reality of sexual violence that has happened and continues to happen here. This memorial is a permanent, public symbol that says to victim survivors, we believe you. We stand with you. You are not alone. We've prepared a virtual ceremony for you. We understand that any of this content might bring things up for you, and we want to direct people to the National Sexual Assault Hotline if you need someone to talk to. Their information is posted in the description of this video. We have some very special guests, leaders from the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, Minneapolis Park Board Superintendent Al Bangora, V, who formerly went by Eve Ensler, and Tarana Burke. First, the Break the Silence Board of Directors.
Good morning. We are the Break the Silence Board of Directors, and now we will dedicate this memorial to survivors of sexual violence.
We dedicate this memorial to victims, to survivors, to people who have experienced sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual exploitation, and rape.
We dedicate this memorial to those who face sexual violence at the highest rates: Indigenous women, Black women, women of color, queer and trans folks, sex workers, undocumented immigrants, people who are incarcerated, people experiencing homelessness, people with disabilities, children, and young people.
We dedicate this memorial to those who have endured sexual violence as a means of colonization, slavery, social oppression, and as a weapon of war.
We dedicate this memorial to those who were not believed, to those who were silenced by being shamed, blamed, or punished for what happened to them, to those who watched as the people around them ignored the abuse or defended the perpetrator.
We dedicate this memorial to people who feel forever changed by this experience, to those who lost a part of themselves or the life they could have led, to those who faced enduring trauma and mental and physical illnesses in the aftermath.
We dedicate this memorial to people who found themselves alone and isolated at a time when they desperately needed support and allies, to people who are abandoned by friends, family, and their community in the aftermath of sexual violence.
We dedicate this memorial to those who reported their experiences and saw the system fail them, to those whose experiences weren't taken seriously, to those whose rape kits sat on shelves untested or were destroyed, to those whose cases weren't investigated because of an arbitrary statute of limitations.
We dedicate this memorial to people who didn't feel safe to report their experiences, to those who knew the system would cause further harm to them or their community, and to all those whose perpetrators never faced any consequences or were never held accountable.
We dedicate this memorial to those who hold these traumatic experiences in silence, to those who have carried this suffering alone. We dedicate this memorial to the silence breakers, to those who have courageously spoken their truth aloud.
This place is yours, is ours. This place is for all of us. May we find peace and healing here together in solidarity.
Bonjour, Manidu Beneshi Queen Dijanakaz, Migizin Donde. My name is Nicole Matthews. I'm Anishinaabe. My people are from the White Earth Band of Ojibwe here in northern Minnesota, and I'm the executive director of the Minnesota Indian Women Sexual Assault Coalition.
Bonjour, Nibinabe Koy Indigenakaz, Mayangan Indudame. Hello, my name is Angelica Allery. I am an enrolled member of the Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate, and I am the membership and outreach coordinator for the Minnesota Indian Women Sexual Assault Coalition.
We are here today to view the beautiful creation of a memorial, the first of its kind memorial for survivors of sexual violence on our indigenous lands, on the lands of the Dakota people, and near the water. And the water is a place of nourishment, of healing. Water has much strength and power. And we are here to honor the many generations of survivors of sexual violence and the current survivors of sexual violence in hopes that someday we won't have or need a memorial such as this, when there will be no more survivors of sexual violence and when we will have an end to sexual violence. And today we stand here with an acknowledgement of also the generations of our people, of our indigenous relatives who experienced sexual violence and experienced violence at the hands of people when they were forcibly removed as children to boarding schools, who were sexually assaulted over multiple generations by non-Native people as an act of the continued colonization of our people. And I stand here thinking about my indigenous relatives and my loved ones and my friends and family who were victims of sexual violence. And much like the memorial says, we believe them. They are not alone, and we stand with them. And they now have a place to come, and we all have a place to come for reflection, to honor our relatives, to honor the children inside of us, to honor the survivors. Today we are going to sing a water song, which is fitting, standing here near the water. And the words of this water song say, "Water, we love you, we respect you, and we thank you." Ready? Nibe gizagegu Gimi gwechowe ni migu Gijowe ni migu Nibe gizagegu Gimi gwechowe ni migu Gijowe ni migu Nibe gizagegu Gimi gwechowe ni migu Gijowe ni migu Nibe gizagegu Gimi gwechowe ni migu Gijowe ni migu Miigwech.
My name is Anisha Kamesh, and I am a 2-time rape survivor. I'm also a board member of Break the Silence. This memorial is a way to honor victim survivors of sexual violence. By having a physical space, a public space, it allows us to acknowledge the trauma instead of silencing it, which is what usually happens. Having the space as a public acknowledgement of trauma that occurred helps to destigmatize what happened and allows us to collectively move forward while also having a safe space to reflect on and heal from what happened. It is a form of community healing. This memorial would not have been possible without the unanimous support of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. We are grateful the Park Board realizes the importance of having our parks reflect our communities and to create inclusive and safe spaces for everyone, including survivors. It is my honor to introduce our next speaker, Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Superintendent Al Bangora. Superintendent Bangora took over leading our nationally acclaimed park system in January of 2019. Prior to becoming the 12th person to serve as Minneapolis Park Board, Superintendent Bangora was the Recreation Superintendent of Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation, which includes Charlotte, North Carolina, this serves over 1.1 million people. He's a certified park and recreation professional, and prior to joining Mecklenburg County, he served as the Director of Recreation Centers and Programs for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. We are so grateful for his leadership and support. Please join me in welcoming Superintendent Al Bangora.
Hi, I'm Al Bangora, Superintendent for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Boom Island Park is a well-loved, peaceful park on the northeast Minneapolis riverfront. It's a wonderful spot for one of the most powerful projects in our park system, the first permanent memorial honoring survivors of sexual violence in the United States. I am in awe of the coalition of survivors, supporters, and advocates who came together and persisted through more than 5 years to create this beautiful, important public space in our park system. Thank you to the amazing Sarah Super and Break the Silence. I'd like to also thank all the project supporters, including Damon Farber Landscape Architecture, which created the design for this memorial, artist Lori Green, who created these beautiful, inspiring mosaics, J.E. Dunn and other contractors who so carefully built this project, the St. Anthony West Neighborhood Organization, which was supportive of a location for the memorial in their neighborhood from the start. Hennepin County, which funded the soil cleanup in the memorial area. And Park Board staff for lending their amazing expertise and energy towards getting this done. Minneapolis parks are for everyone. We strive to provide safe space to gather, contemplate, and to heal. The public art and memorials in our parks reflect our values as an organization and as a community. We are committed to social justice, equity, and creating spaces that foster healing. The memorial creates a physical, tangible space where we as a community can acknowledge the prevalence of sexual violence and stand with survivors in solidarity. This space is where we can truly honor the courage of survivors and work towards ending sexual violence. The memorial is a beautiful addition to a beautiful park. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone who supported and worked on this project. I'm proud to represent the park system that hosts this important memorial and hopeful it will bring awareness to the prevalence of sexual violence and foster healing among survivors. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Colford. I am the survivor of multiple sexual assaults and being trafficked for a year. I am also a board member of Break the Silence. I have the absolute honor to introduce our next speaker. This beautiful warrior is a Tony Award-winning playwright, author, and activist. V captivated the world in 1996 with the Vagina Monologues, which has been translated into 48 languages and performed in over 140 countries. V founded V-Day, a global activist movement which over the course of more than 2 decades has raised over $100 million to end violence against all women and girls, cisgender, transgender, gender nonconforming. V is also a co-founder of the City of Joy, a revolutionary center for women survivors of violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Most recently, V wrote a book called The Apology, a true apology in the words of her abuser. There are not enough words for me to express the gratitude I have for all the work V has done and continues to do. Please join me in welcoming V.
I am so honored and moved to be here tonight to celebrate the completion of this country's first public memorial to honor victims of sexual violence. I want to thank and celebrate Sarah Super for her outstanding vision, commitment, and devotion to this incredible project, and all the people who have supported her, believed in her, and helped her to bring this gorgeous site into being. I want to acknowledge the stunning work of the landscape architects, Joan McLeod, Rachel Blasedge, and Jennifer Jaman of Damon Farber Landscape Architects, and mosaic artist Lori Green of Mosaic on a Stick. I have sadly not been able to be at the memorial in person, but I've had the pleasure of seeing images of this beautiful spiral of truth and healing. I love that it is held in the heart of the park, that the green energy of our great mother embraces the memorial with radiant life force. I wanted to talk for a moment about why this memorial is so important. There are many reasons. One of our greatest challenges with sexual violence has been the enforced silence around it due to patriarchal machinations and stigma. So often women who are raped and abused do not come forward for fear of being shamed, mocked, disbelieved, and further raped by a grossly unfair culture and legal system. This memorial is a public place. It announces by its existence that sexual violence is real and that it matters. It refuses to allow us to turn away. It gives courage to women as a side of witness. It takes center stage and demands that we see, feel, and know of violence that has been in the center of our existence, determining so much of our reality, but which has remained invisible for so long. It is a place and a prayer, a remembering and a warning, a station of grief, a plaza of resistance and release. Everything about the design is in alignment with the trajectory of healing, holding, and honoring survivors. As it says in the description, the circle of benches is intended as an invitation for dialogue. The mosaics symbolize that broken pieces can be put together to create something whole and beautiful. The ripple effect seen in the seating platform and extending into the landscape signifies the multiplying power of survivors' voices. When survivors tell their stories, they unconsciously inspire others, survivors, to tell theirs, who inspire others to tell theirs, and so on. I think these last years have taught us the power of monuments and public sites. The taking down of the statues of Confederate soldiers and heroes has begun a long overdue process of reckoning with our country's white supremacist past. As each statue falls, so does our denial and our resistance to the truth. In the case of this memorial, the opposite is true. It has built the truth about sexual violence into the fabric of the community. It is here, right here, and by being here, it honors every woman killed, hurt, wounded, made less by rape and abuse. It says to each woman, your life, your experience, your story matters. We hold your pain and your possibility. And its central public space, it demands that ending violence against women become a collective responsibility. It says to perpetrators or potential perpetrators, the day of silence is over. There is a public record, a public place, which will not ignore or deny or forget, and where you will be held accountable. I so hope that what Sarah has created here becomes a catalyst for others to create memorials all over this country and the world. In every city, every town. I hope that one day this memorial and all the thousands that will be born as a result of this inspiration will become places of peace and kindness, places of gentle intimacy, and places of wild celebration, art, and mad dancing. I hope with every inch of my heart that this memorial, by honoring and holding space for the wounded women, transforms their pain into power. I send my love to everyone today. I thank Sarah Super for her incredible courage, creativity, and tenacity. I urge everyone to vote, 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 to demand a country no longer run by a predator charged now by over 25 women for sexual violence. May this memorial signal the coming of a new day of kindness, equality, justice, and repair.
Hello and salam, everyone. My name is Asma Muhammad Nizami. I'm a survivor of sexual violence, and I'm a proud board member of Break the Silence. I can't fully express to you how humbled and excited I am to introduce our next speaker. Tarana Burke is the founder of the Me Too movement. This pioneer began using those words in 2006 after she founded her organization Just Be Inc., a full decade before those words together became a part of our everyday vocabulary. In 2017, when survivors around the world began using the hashtag #MeToo that she originated, Tarana was shocked to see that her years of work were helping survivors share their stories and build community. She was named one of Time Magazine's Persons of the Year in 2017, and today she serves as a senior director at Girls for Gender Equity. Tarana is currently working on her memoir titled Where the Light Enters, which we are all excited to see on bookshelves across the globe. This incredible woman has changed so many lives, including my own. Please join me in welcoming Tarana Burke.
Greetings, my name is Tarana, and I just want to say, one, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there today to celebrate the world's first Survivors Memorial with you all. But I want to say I'm so grateful that this exists. I remember when I first heard about it, that they were trying to build something like this, and I thought it was the most phenomenal idea. It was the most innovative and thoughtful and loving and caring offering to make for people who have survived sexual violence. People don't often engage us from a place of power and strength, and people don't often engage us from a position of hierarchy. What do you need? How can I help you? But this offering feels different. We are often made to feel small and like we can't take up space, and we shouldn't take up space, that our stories take up too much space, that our bodies physically even take up too much space. But, the idea of an outside memorial is so perfect, because surviving is hard and survivors are heroes, and heroes deserve memorials. Our surviving should be celebrated and memorialized. It should be talked about and heralded and held in high esteem, because it is no small feat to survive. And so my hope is that, those who have had the gross misfortune of having to experience sexual violence will feel seen by this memorial, will feel uplifted by this memorial, and know that they're not being memorialized for being victims. You're being memorialized for being a survivor. And that's a very, very important distinction for me. And the idea that this exists, I hope, encourages people to survive another day. And for those who don't feel like survivors, I hope it's a place that you can go to get the encouragement. Because every day we have to make a decision to survive. And all of us someday feel like this is not the day where I can do it. Today I feel different. I feel very much like a victim. And that's okay. But we have a place, a thing, something tangible, someplace to go and sit and experience that will give us the encouragement to survive another day. And so I'm just grateful that exists, because this moment and this movement has been built on the sweat, blood, and tears and the backs of survivors of sexual violence. There would be no Me Too. There would be no moment that we're having right now in the movement to end sexual violence if not for the courage of the people who gave voice to their pain, who gave voice to their experience and their trauma, and who gave permission for other people to find that voice. And I think that places like this memorial will keep creating those kinds of circumstances. And that's exactly what we need to not just survive, but to continue surviving. I'll forever be known as an individual. I'll forever be known for what happened to me. But I'm okay with that, because you can't tell the story of my trauma without telling the story of my survival. And you can't look at my story of survival without seeing that I didn't just survive, but I thrived. And you can't see the fact that I thrived without seeing the fact that I tried to make space for other people to do the same thing. And so I want this memorial to be a space that is living and breathing for all survivors. That is not just, just stagnant and still, but it is a space that breathes life into us, because we deserve that. We deserve life. We deserve beauty, and we deserve joy, and we deserve breath, and we deserve fresh air, and we deserve repair, and we deserve respite, and we deserve space. And now we have that. Thank you so much to Sarah. Sarah, this is the most amazing offering. Thank you so much to all the people that poured into this. I know it's never one individual. And so I appreciate everybody who has, worked alongside Sarah to make this a reality. And I cannot wait to visit. I cannot wait to spend time there. I cannot wait to meet other survivors there. Thank you.
To end our ceremony, I want to thank each of you who helped make this day possible. Thank you to our special guests, Tarana Burke, Nicole Matthews of the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, and Minneapolis Park Board Superintendent Al Bangora. Thank you to my friends and family, Mom, Dad, Elizabeth, Catherine, and Jack for loving me in my deepest suffering. Every day you show me what love is. Thank you to the board members of Break the Silence, Anisha Kamesh, Asma Mohammed Nizami, and Sarah Colford. Each of you have changed the world by telling your stories. Your courage and strength inspire me, and your solidarity has been a healing gift to me and the Break the Silence community. I want to extend my gratitude for the incredibly generous support we received from Jeff Anderson and Associates, the St. Anthony West Neighborhood Organization, Hennepin County, the Power of 100, Twin Cities Women Who Care, the Richard Schultz Family Foundation, Carla Ekdahl and Peter Hutchinson, Mary and Rob Super, J.E. Dunn Construction, Damon Farber Landscape Architects, Mosaic on a Stick, Pierce Peeney Civil Engineers, Bob and Maureen Vince, and all of you who contributed to making this healing place a reality. This was a true community effort, and it reminds me that behind this incredible place is a huge group of people who believe survivors, support survivors, and stand with survivors in solidarity. Thank you to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board for dedicating this beautiful place in Boom Island Park alongside the Mississippi River as a healing place for victim survivors. Lastly, I want to thank the brilliant, dedicated team that has tirelessly worked to bring this memorial to life. Lori Green, you were the first to join me in this vision. Long before we had a plan or funding, you believed in this, and I can't imagine any of this without you. Your work is amazing. You are amazing. I want to thank Joan McLeod, Rachel Blassig, and Jennifer Germain of Damon Farber Landscape Architects, Mike Van Cly, Sam Swanson, and Brad Meyer of J.E. Dunn Construction, Park Board Assistant Superintendent Michael Schroeder, Park Planner Colleen Odell, and my dad, Rob Super. Working with each of you was a healing experience. Not only did you build something so beautiful, but you did this work with such passion, creativity, expertise, and integrity. I will always be grateful for your presence in my life and the enormous commitment and contributions you made to this project. To every person who's experienced sexual violence, this place is yours, is ours. This place is for all of us. You are strong, you are courageous, and you are inspiring. We stand together in solidarity.